All right, I hope you stayed awesome, because if you didn't, you're not allowed back yet. All right, so here we go. We're going to start week 4. All right, so week 4 is here, and we currently have 8 SO points, and we're going to get the full 15 this time. So 8 and 5 is 23, so we have 23 SO points to start the day. I want to buy another bomber. I want to upgrade my recon to, but that's going to be 16 points, by the way, to upgrade my recon. I don't know if, because I spent 4 points on the recon, is it just, I can just pay the difference, or do I have to buy it brand new? That part I don't know. This recon thing is sort of new. I've never done this before. I do know the recon can be destroyed. Ooh, I get to add 8 SO points for doing recon. I never did that. I have 10 for the weather, 8 for the bomber wing, and 6 for fighter engagements. It says right here, add 8 SO points for, oh, never mind. That's for random group selection. So if you just randomly choose groups instead of hand picking them like I did, you get 8 SO points. That's pretty interesting. I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, none of these bombers are awful. The thing that makes your bombers good are the commanders. So, yeah, it would cost a full 8 to get a new one. So, I would need 16 to upgrade my recon. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just hold tight with what I got. The recon, if I ever roll, 1 gets destroyed. So then I have to buy a new one. I may just wait until that happens. Let's get another bomber. So the bombers are here. And we get to choose, this for example is the other B24. It has an automatic repair if it gets high enough level. It does cost 16 points to purchase, so it's the more expensive one. The B17s, of course, are not. This one is the one that comes with the tech that makes it a good air-to-air fighter. I'm not interested in that one. That one would be, I'd be angry if I randomly got that one. We already talked about this one, the U-boat one. There are U-boat targets in the secondary missions. So this was, I mistakenly thought ASW missions, but there is an actual U-boat targets. But beyond that, I mean, it's a decent bomber. It just has a U-boat bonus, which we don't necessarily need. Hell's Angels is the same with a crossbow bonus. Crossbow is, again, a secondary mission target. I'm looking at it. Its air to ground is decent at veteran. Its level up points is pretty high, so it's going to be slow to level up. And then there's Scarlet here, which can hit transportation targets. Again, we don't have those. A huge air-to-air of +5. They're all good. Well, they're all good except for this one. This is the only one I know for sure I don't want. If I randomly got it, I would make it work, but I am glad I don't have to make it work. Okay, so if I buy one, I can also get a commander, which is even more bling, and then I can also spend 4 SO points to automatically promote it. Otherwise, it starts at the green level, which is at least a little better than recruit, but then I have to promote it, or I can promote it to get to average. So that would be semi-helpful. So there's a couple of things. The first one is we can get this guy, which comes with the radar that ignores the medium weather effects. We have one that makes the flak defense become -1. He's decent. There's nothing to write home about. There's another one that gives a flak defense of -2. You know what? I think the flak roll, it just crossed my mind that does the flak roll go against every single bomber? Oh my gosh, was I doing that wrong? If that is the case, I am so sorry. I rolled the flak once and then just called it a day, but I think flak goes against every single bomber that's coming over the target. Because I'm looking at these skills and I'm like, why would I want that skill? And then I remember the flak thing being a very good skill last time I played this. Bear with me here. I feel like I'm playing Enemy Action Ardennes. I'm looking at the rules so much. This is an over-target question. Each bomber group must go through flak attacks. Perform the following for each bomber group in the mission. Do not roll flak attacks against the fighter group. So the durability works, and then yes. Okay. We cheated. So for this last target, this flak roll is for every single bomber. So all 3 of the bombers would have gone up against this flak. So we rolled once. And let's just do it. I want to do this right. So we're going to just assume that we started with this one. So we rolled once. It was no damage. Now we're going to roll for this one. I rolled a 6, which becomes a 5. No damage. This one, I rolled a 7, which becomes a 6. I'm checking the target card again. It needed a 7. So that one was no damage. This one, we know it's the same 3 bombers, so let's do it. We rolled this once. I know he didn't hit because we never assigned any. So again, we're going to assume it was for this one, and we're going to roll for those 2. So I'm just going to roll white for this one. I rolled 2 10s. Okay, so they both get reduced to a 9, and that's 2 hits for each of them. So I don't think it changes anything from an outcome perspective, but it does mean I have more hits. So this one's up to 4. And then this one's going to be a 3. Now what I mean by more hits is just they're not shaken. So it wouldn't have changed the outcome of any of their battles, but we do have more damage we have to repair, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so good thing I caught that. My gosh, I can't believe I got that wrong. Yes, so for that reason, that's why this guy costs 6 points. Because see, his flak defense is -2, which means that the flak really has a hard time hitting him. And then, of course, the suppression and the evasion are both decent things for air-to-air. So Wigglesworth is decent. The little Abner here and the Death Dealer has no durability. So they're easier to hit with flak. And so getting those flak defense guys on these is a very good idea. However, I don't have enough points. So if I spend 16 for this, and I spend 6 for Wigglesworth, that's 22, and I have 23 total. I guess I have enough. Do I want to blow the whole load? I don't know. This one is always an interesting one. You replenish 3 a week, but you have an air-to-ground of -1. So you got to have a really high air-to-ground. And then the SA here means, you know what this is good for? This is good for the dude with the YB40, because this is all about air-to-air. You don't care about air-to-ground, you just want your air-to-air to be up. And then this one is neat. It's got a replenish of 2. A little cheaper to pick up. And so if you do get hit by flak, you repair 2. There's a benefit to that, or a different way to look at it, I guess. So what do I want to do? I think I want to get Death Dealer. We're going to spend the big bucks. This one is going to be 16 points. And then I want to get castle here for the replenish 2. That would be 20. And then I have 3 points left. Do I really want to do that? Oh, another weird one. Look at this one. You get a weight +2, so that means you can have 2 more points of bombs on them. That's pretty good too. Well, here's the deal. If I only spend 3 points, that would get me to 19. And I'd have 4 points left, which means I can then promote it to an average instead of green. And or I just get a B17 instead. That's always an option. I'm going to get one of the 3-point commanders, or I can just not get a commander and wait until the next round. So I'm going to make a bomber wing out of these. So out of these 2, sorry, I'm just doing an awful job of camera work here. Okay, so we're going to do, both of these are going to be a B-24 bomber wing, which means they have to go on missions together. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this guy the radar. He does get concentrate fire if he ever becomes a veteran. Do I want to give him radar? You know what I can do? I can give him the flak defense of -1. I'll go ahead and do that. We'll give him flak defense -1, which is just as good as a durability 1. And I am going to spend the 4 points to promote him from green to average, which gives him, you can see here, his -1 air to ground becomes +0, and he's going to repair 1 at the end of every week. So that's a huge thing. So I'm just writing Death Dealer on my sheet. And he's going to start at average. And our SO points is all the way down to 0. I spent them all. So off we go. 12 minutes in. And we're just getting ready to start. But that's how this goes. I think the RPG elements are fantastically fun on this game. The individual bomber variant always makes me happy. Hey, by the way, we forgot that too as well. We got an extra experience point for our last mission, and we've done 3 missions up here. So once we do 4 missions, we will move into the green. So we'll only have a -1 penalty. We'll be green pilots after this. It only costs 2 experience points to level something up. So we're going to level this up again. So it's now 2. And yeah, let's go. All right, we're starting a new day. We receive our weekly SO points. We did that. We're going to select our targets. I obviously need to do some recon, so let's do that. Let's get that out of the way. We have one target that's already got good recon on it. That's a airfield. I think we just drew another one that has an air to ground of +2. I like it, but we don't need it. We're at the end of the month. The Germans are going to produce new Luftwaffe squadrons with their supply. So I think we want to switch gears and go after a factory. Although the airfields are actually quite juicy now that we figured out the formula, aren't they? The factory, however, needs SO points to hit. That may not be very helpful. If the factory needs SO points to hit, I mean, we could do the incendiary thing again, but that's a very high risk situation. Also, the flak is going to be 2 rolls. So here's the factory I'm looking at here. It would be this guy. See, we would get a +2. But since we have to use only free bombs, because we have no SO points left, we would be using, we do get to send 4 bombers, so that's good. We now have actually 5 bombers to send, so we do have that weirdness. But this ATG plus 2 is nice. We need an 8 or a 10 to hit, so with the plus 2, it would mean we need a 6 or an 8 to hit. A 6 to hit once, 8 to hit twice. And then, of course, every plane or bomber group would add its own bonus if it has one. So, for example, our Paradise Lost would get to add 3 more. Can we really do this in 1 week? We're not allowed to do the same target for both missions. So I can't like say, okay, I think I'm going to do this halfway and then I'll finish it off with the second. We don't get to do that. Well, let's do the recon. We're going to recon this guy and we're going to recon the other one. So let's do that. The red one is going to be the guy we were just looking at, and then the blue will be the other one that already has a medium intel. Okay, so the red I rolled a 6, which if we look at our recon here, a 6 is good enough to go medium intel. So that's good. We got a medium intel on it, so that reduces any penalties we would receive. And then the 7 here becomes a 9 because it was already a medium intel. And then we get to add the plus 2, that little plus 2 that's in the dark blue there. So that 7 becomes a 9, which means we now have high intel on the airfield. High intel gives us a plus 2 air to ground and then a minus 2 flak. So we're now looking really sweet and pretty. So we're going to for sure go after that airfield. That airfield is a super juicy target. We have high intel on it, so let's do it. That's one of them, okay? So we can send 4 bombers. It needs 13. It gets no air-to-ground bonus, but we get a plus 2 because of the high intel, so sort of works out. There are going to be bandits, so we're going to have to deal with that. The flak can do 3 damage to us. Let's figure out how or who or what is going to go on this. This is on, there's going to be no Luftwaffe response, and assuming that it's poor, like it's been, we're going to have no battles other than the 2 bandits here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my really healthy Spitfire against that one. So that would be the 31st Fighter Group. So this is the Spitfire that's going to escort. And now we got to decide how we're going to do this. We do get the plus 2. I can send 4 bombers. We're going to get plus 2 more because it's a dispersed target, so we're going to get a plus 4. And then we have weather we're going to deal with. But when do I roll for weather? This is actually very important. Do I get to know what it is now? Because I would like to know if I'm going to get a weather bonus. At the beginning of the morning briefing, which is right now. So we do weather. This is going to be UK and that's going to be here. I'm not going to roll for these 2 because we're not going to those 2 areas. But you would normally roll for all 4. So red is UK. Oh my gosh, I rolled a 1 for both. Oh. It's stormy weather. We can't do a mission. So we're screwed. Let's see, stormy, no mission for here. And then for the UK, because we get to add plus 1, it's mostly cloudy, which means we're going to have to deal with a penalty when we take off. I don't have the 6 OSO points. Oh my goodness, we're not going to get to do any mission at all. I don't have any that are in these zones over here. So I can't like switch to a target over there. Oh, I have one that's on hex 13. Really? That's pretty deep. It says it's French. AC13. AC13 is allowed, right? Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, we have one target that's there. So, yeah, we should know about the weather. So let's roll for the weather for, I don't know where this zone ends and that zone starts. So, okay, this is zone 2 right here. So I rolled a 3, which is not much better. A 3 is pretty crappy still. I think it's going to be cloudy. Oh, it's partly cloudy, so it's just normal weather. Okay, well, I can't do this mission, even though I desperately want to. And the recon I get to do after the weather. So we're going to say that I did recon on the only target that I can do today, which is this one, this aircraft factory. I can't do, so I'm going to say I hit medium intel on that one. So this is in hex 13. So we would be doing one target and then back. We do get at least one +1. I can send 4 bombers. I have 5, so one of them is going to sit back and rest. I will rest the one that has 4 damage. I can actually rest Memphis Belle as well. Which one should I do? I will rest the one that has the 4 damage. I think. Grim Reaper. Yeah, I will do that. And I'm going to send both of my B-24s, my Paradise Lost, and my Memphis Belle on this one. And then my Spitfire that's not damaged as well. So let's play this out here. So the Spitfire will escort at the top. My lead is actually going to be Memphis Belle, which is the 91st. So we'll make that the lead group. And then the 2 B-24s, the 44th. And I got to grab the other one, which is the 93rd. Sorry, it's in my tray still. There's a lot of them in here. Here we go, I found it. Okay, so the 93rd, and then the Paradise Lost, which is the 97th. So that's going to be our bomber groups. We're going to lead with the B-17, 2 B-24s, and finish with the B-17. Okay, so that'll be our squadron. This and this are both going to rest. I could do a second mission, but remember, because of the weather, there's no other targets that I can hit. So that's my dilemma here. The weather definitely screws with the game. Okay, so I like to do this now because I don't want to forget. But the fighter and the bomber that did not go on a mission are going to get to recover 3 strength points. So this -4 is going to become a -1. So I'm just going to do that. And then my Grim Reaper is a -4 to a -1 as well. That's actually really nice. And then, so let's move on with the mission now. So we did our recon. Granted, I did it in the wrong order, but it's done. We got a medium intel on this target. We have to arm our bombers. We have no SO points. So we have to do this the hard way. And so everybody's going to have these M30s. And I am going to put some incendiaries on Memphis Belle. 2 of them. Should I do 3? Nope, just 2. So 2 incendiaries are going to be on Memphis Belle. So Memphis Belle is going to have this loadout here. Everybody else is going to have 3 or 4 of these, depending on their tonnage. The B-24s will have 4 of them. Everybody else is going to have 3. Okay? And that's just because of what they can carry. So we're going to get going here. We got to roll for the Luftwaffe response, which is going to be low. I rolled a 1, which was completely overkill there. Just making sure I don't... Oh, we got to roll to see where our bomber is going to be. So I rolled a 5. So over here we have a 5. We're going to be in the middle again, just like before. And so now we draw our event card. So I'm just reaching under the camera here. Okay. Oh, look at this. We gained 3 SO points. Sweet. That was a nice event. Thank you, Dean. Okay. So I get 3 SO points. I very much needed that. We were sitting on a big fat 0 there. Okay. We got our 3. We move the mission counter. Well, we're going to move here, and then we're going to move there. There's no Luftwaffe response, period. Sorry you weren't seeing my screen here. There's no Luftwaffe. I mean, it's a poor response. There's no airfields. We're not going to get intercepted, is what I'm trying to say. So we're basically going to go in and bomb and get out. That's it. So we got to just look at our target, do the flak attack, and then bomb the crap out of it. And then we draw our homebound event. So let's do that. Making sure you can see. They're going to roll once, but they can potentially hit us with a 5. Okay, so I'm going to roll for the 2 B-24s. The red one is for Death Dealer. So we rolled a 2, which is a miss, and a 1, which is a miss. That was a perfect roll for us. Now I'm going to roll for Paradise Lost in red, and then Memphis Belle white. Paradise Lost is a miss. Memphis Belle is an 8. -1 is a 7. That is 2 hits on Memphis Belle. There's nothing I can do about that. Memphis Belle is now up to 5 destroyed out of 7. It's still not shaken, but we did lose 5 strength there. Okay, moving on. We get to bomb the target. Okay, so let's start with Memphis Belle. We have the 2 incendiary. We get a +1 air to ground here. Okay, so that's 1. We don't get anything for this, so nothing happens there. Memphis Belle doesn't get anything, so nothing there. So it's just +1 for air to ground. So a 6 or better, and we put this sucker on fire. And I rolled a 2 and a 5. That's not going to do it. So with that said, the lack of incendiary on this guy could hurt us a lot. Here's the thing. We could have put it on fire like this and then rolled the incendiary die and still didn't get our 6 or whatever we needed to get, and it wouldn't have done squat. It would just meant that they put out the fire. So that's not a big deal. Okay, now we're going to roll for this one, which is not going to get the +2, but it does get this +1. And that's a 7. Which is not enough. We're 1 short. Dang it. Okay, so Memphis Belle completely missed. However, we still have 3 more bombers. So now we're going to do Little Abner, who gets a +1 in addition to this +1. So it's a +2 for Little Abner. And he's going to drop all 3 bombs. I need like a dice tower or something here. I'm going to move this a little bit. All right, so we needed an 8 to hit, so this is an 8. That's a 5. I'm sorry, this is a 10. Sorry, that's going to be a 10 for 2 hits, a 5, and a 6. So we did 2 hits, which is at least something. Oh. All right, so 2 hits on the target. That was Little Abner. So now we move on to Death Dealer, who's only going to get a +1 in his die roll. This will be an 8 for 1 hit, and that's it. So we are up to 3 damage. We just did enough for light damage. Now we go to Paradise Lost, which is going to get a +3, plus 1 more is 4. So +4 to each of these rolls. That's an 8. That's an 8 for 2 more hits. So we got him up to 5 hits. We did not destroy the factory. Now, the 5 hits is more than a 3, but not the 6. So all this is light damage to the target. We don't even reduce the supply. This factory is going to work at full speed. So that's the outcome. After 4 bombers, we hardly did anything to it. That was unfortunate, but that's how it goes. We would have been better off going after those other targets. So yes, it'll get a chance to repair at the end of the week. All right, homebound target. On the ball, designate one group as fast for the homebound flight. It doesn't matter, we're not going to get intercepted. So we just make it home. And then that's it. We're done with the week. We're going to get experience points, so let's do that. Okay, Grim Reaper didn't go. Memphis Belle is going to get 1 for participating in the mission. And that's not enough to promote. Paradise Lost gets 1. It's 1 away from promotion. Little Abner gets 1. And the Spitfire for the 31st group gets 1. And that's not enough. And then Death Dealer gets 1. And that's not enough. So we didn't get any victory points for that. So we're still sitting on just 5 victory points for the campaign, 3 for the airfield. For the first month, we're not doing all that great. Not doing horrible, but points-wise, we're not doing well. We do wrap up the week. We already repaired our rested guys. So then we do one more thing now. That target has a, so on the bottom of the target there, it says repair 8+. Okay, so now we're going to roll a die, and if we roll an 8 or better, that damage we did to it isn't even going to be there. So I rolled a 1, so we're fine. So what that means with the light damage is when we come back and bomb it, let's say next week, it's going to automatically start with 3 damage on it because it has light damage. So the light damage, see, look at those slash numbers. See how the first damage marker is 3 and then it goes 6, 9, and then 14? Well, since it has light damage, when we come back to bomb it again, it will already have 3 damage on it, and then we're going to start damaging it from there. So that's what here where it says previous target damage, that's what that means, is that you convert that light factory damage to whatever the slash numbers are. So as long as it doesn't repair, right? So at the end of the week there, it had a chance to repair itself. It failed, so we'll get a crack at it next time and be able to maybe finish it off, okay? So this next part is the end of the month. And end of the month is probably one of the most brilliant things of this game. And I do have to step through it in the rulebook because it doesn't happen that often. It even says resolve all end of month stuff. That's all it says at the bottom. It doesn't even tell you what that is. The end of the month is like to me, it's like the equivalent of a coin game whenever, you know, winter comes or whatever. All this magical stuff happens. So let's go through that magical stuff. And oh, by the way, we also got 1 experience point for our bomber crew. They always get 1 for the mission, and we get a checkbox up here because we did go on 4 missions, and now we're considered green pilots. We only get a -1 penalty to some of our dice rolls. Okay, so let's do end of month. I'm going to get the rule book out so we don't miss a step. Okay, and you really do have to do these in order. Okay, so the first thing we do is we check the secondary mission. Okay, so if this was here, then we have to resolve it. It either succeeds or it fails, and you get whatever bonus or detriment comes your way. In our case, we have to pay 12 SO points or get rid of a bomber or fighter. It doesn't matter what. There is no succeed or fail, but we don't have to do it until the end of next month. So we're just going to slide this over, and now at the end of September, this has to be paid. Okay, this card does not get revealed. Now, if this were to slide off, then we reveal a new card and then do whatever it says. But right now, all we're doing is moving it over. That's it. We got 1 more month to do this particular mission. And we just know we have to set aside 12 points. Okay, that's the first one. If an aircraft factory was destroyed, we have to remove the corresponding supply point counter that matches the target supply points from the aircraft factory track and place a build factory counter on the next month box. I've already done that. And so, what that's saying is we destroyed a factory, so there should be no supply marker here, and instead there should be a build marker up there. We did that as we destroyed the target. I think it's just reminding you that that's what you're supposed to have done. You know what? I'm reading the wrong section. That's during over target. No wonder I'm getting confused. Okay, secondary mission. We did that. We evaluated it. It's done. Next is German defense adjustments. So this is where, for each active theater, we have to determine if there's a war front adjustment by rolling a die. And then we apply any theater modifier. For the Mediterranean USR, it's going to move forward on a 9 or greater, backwards on a 3 or less. If a theater counter advances to the final box, then it never retreats anymore. It basically means there was a victory there. And then, of course, if you're playing with the D-Day, there's going to be an European theater marker as well. So just bear with me. I'm reading something real quick. Oh, interesting. Okay, so here we go. All right, so what it's saying we need to do is we're going to roll for these, and it looks like these bonuses stay. So we're currently at a +1. So I'm going to roll for the Mediterranean Theater. I rolled a 4. I add +1 to 5. It's not going to advance or retract. It's going to stay right where it's at. So then the USSR one is at a 9. I rolled a 6. It's not enough. It's also going to just stay. It's not going to go backwards or forward. What's next? Okay, next is we're going to get new Luftwaffe squadrons. And that's equal to our supply. So we look here and we're going to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we're gonna get 7 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now we have to decide where are they gonna go. And there's a method to the madness. I always have to step through it. Okay. So the chart here is on the bottom. So what it's saying is if you roll a 1, it's going to go to the reserve. It gets plus or minus based on the commander modifier, which in our case is a +1. Okay, for Western. So 1, we'll put it in a reserve, which is here. Okay, the reserve doesn't hurt us, but if there's ever less than 4 of these on our map, then they will pull from the reserve and put them in to basically fill in empty spots. The Mediterranean theater is a 1 to 3. The USSR is a 1 to 3, and then the West is whatever the remainder is, to 10. Okay, so what does that mean? Is probably what you're wondering. And what's the best way to represent this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some theater markers that are not being used at this time. And so here's what it's saying. The 1 is going to be for the reserve, period. So I can put that here underneath the 1 to show you that's going to go to the reserve if I roll a 1. Okay. The Mediterranean is anywhere from 1 to 3. And so what you see here is the Mediterranean is a 2. So what that means is that the 2 and the 3 are the Mediterranean. So I'm going to put this right underneath the 3. Okay. So this is going to be right underneath the 1. So it could have been 3 of them are going to go to the Mediterranean, but only 2 go to the Mediterranean. Okay. So then the other thing is in the Russian theater, we have a 2 here. It's under Luftwaffe there. And so that means that 2 are going to be allocated to the Russian. So that's 4 and 5. So 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all going to go to the West. Okay. Now, the German commander has a Western deployment focus of +1. So that means he wants to deploy to the West, and he's basically saying screw the Mediterranean and the Russians. So that means when I roll a die, we're going to be adding +1 to it. So the reserves are just not going to happen. There's going to be nothing going into the reserves because I'm going to get a minimum of a 2. Okay? Does that make sense? So I have to roll a die for each one of these. And each one of them is going to go. So if let's assume that the German commander had no bonus. If I rolled a 1, this would go over here into the reserve, and then that would trigger some rule for some other time. Okay, that's more rules that we haven't covered yet. If I were to roll a 2 or a 3, then what I do is I put this over in the Mediterranean however way I want. You can put it here. I like to put it right on the start. But these Luftwaffe squadrons actually impact the die roll next time. So this is going to subtract 1 from the die roll here. And if there's enough of these, I can actually cause it to go backwards and change the outcome of that particular theater. So that's if I roll a 2 or a 3. If I roll a 4 or a 5, then it's going to show up in the Soviet theater. And so these will actually impact your die roll in those theaters the next time. Okay, so for now, though, there's a whole bunch of probability that it's going to just show up in our realm. So I'm going to do 3 at a time. There's no reason to roll them 1 at a time, I guess, because it's not like one's any different than the other. So let's just do 3 at a time. So 10, 10, and 9, geez Louise. So 3 of them are going to our region. Let's go again. 9, 7, and 6, 3 more are going to our region. So we're going to get all of them so far. And then the last one, I rolled a 4. This last one's going to Russia. Okay. So one of them went to Russia, all the other ones went to us, which is bad news for us. Okay, so when they go to us, I just want to make sure I'm not getting it wrong. Then we're going to put them on our map. Yep. So one at a time. This is a 10. So this guy goes on the 10. So look at how it's amping up for us because we failed to destroy those factories. This goes on 12. This goes on 5. So we have a third one on 5 here. This one goes on 16. Way over there. 16. And 7. All right, well, here's the good news. 16 isn't going to ever impact us. However, though, there's another rule that's triggering here. If hex 9, 12, 13, and 15 don't have a Luftwaffe squadron, okay? 9, 12, 13, and 15. So there's 3 of them here that don't have a Luftwaffe squadron. If they don't have a Luftwaffe squadron, and an edge hex has 2 or more squadrons, then reassign one of them to the critical hex from the edge hex with the most Luftwaffe squadrons first. Determine randomly after that. Okay, so this is an edge hex. It has 2 of them. So one of these is going to be redispositioned to these 3. Okay, this is also a edge hex. So we're going to remove one from there. And now we have a tie between these 2, which are both edge hexes. So this is going to be 1 through 5, 6 through 10. I rolled a 1, so we're going to leave it from 7. So now 9 gets 1, 13 gets 1, and 15 gets 1. Because those are the critical ones. So they pull from the edge hexes. 5 could have been pulled from, but I just rolled and you know, this one was, because it's a tie. To be quite honest, this one would have benefited them more because this is actually where a lot of our targets are. So that sort of helped us. But remember, I just told you that Berlin was never going to be a factor. Well, they ended up giving up one of them. You know what? I did it wrong. Let's back this up. That was 2, that was 3, that was 1. This one for sure is giving one up, okay? Now we have a 3-way tie. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a 6. 1 through 5, 6 through 10. There's a 3. So there you go. That's how it's going to work. And that actually worked out even more in our favor. So it wasn't intentional. I wasn't trying to do that. It's just how it came out. All right. So now you saw how they basically, how the supply is working against us, leaving those factories undestroyed, if I can use that term. That's how it works against us. So now the Germans are going to build a new factory because we're moving into September, right? So this month is going to go into September. So I'm going to take this build marker and put it here, and then we're going to go and draw a factory target. And remember, we have to draw a French one or Danish. So I think this one's within our range. So you can see this one has a supply of 2. So we got another factory on the board. And that's also at hex 11. And then these 3 we're just setting off to the side. Okay, so with it having a supply of 2, another 2 comes out. And so as we start the next month, we are once again dealing with a big German factory output that we're going to have to deal with. And we have less weeks to do it in. So it's a double trouble for us. Okay, so there is a possibility that German technology would become available, but we would have known that, and there is no German technology in this particular game right now. And then we roll for German commander replacement. So this is an interesting one. The German commander himself could be replaced. So on an 8 or higher, he would be replaced. So let's roll. I rolled a 7, which was close, but not quite. So that commander is going to stay. And just like I said, Dean clarified for me that he does not redistribute new U-boats. So we don't have to worry about U-boats anymore. But he's going to stay, and we're going to have to deal with him again for this next round. So that means he's going to continue to provide out of the sun tactic, and he's also going to have a Western deployment focus, which is a +1 to his die rolls. Okay, next we do a group reassignment check. Okay, so what does that mean? I will show you. Your squadrons have a reassign value. Right now they're all nothing, but like let's say this guy became an ace pilot or even a veteran here. So you can see here that if he becomes a veteran pilot, sorry, I'm knocking stuff off everywhere. See how that says 10 plus? I would have to roll a die, and if I roll 10 or better, so I would need to roll a perfect 10, I guess, in his case, he would get reassigned to another theater, and I would actually lose this bomber group forever. It just leaves the game, and I no longer get to use it. So that's one of the pitfalls of having like an ace pilot or something. They're in high demand in other places. And then lastly, we do our monthly replacements. And we can do an additional replacement with SO points, where 1 SO point equals 2 replacement points. And we don't get to save... we don't get to save our replacement points. So what's our monthly replacements? You can see here that it's 12. I think that's more than enough for us, because we have 5 here, we have 1 here for 6, and then we have 1 here for 7. So we still had 5 left over. Unfortunately, that bad weather really hurt us that last week, but that's just how a cookie crumbles. And there we go. All of our squadrons are completely healed and ready to go. So we're going to be starting September week 1 in our next video. So thank you for watching, and there you go. There's month end and how this game plays out. I think it's one of the neatest mechanics. The way you bomb your targets, and based on what kind of targets you're bombing, it's going to have different effects on the different theaters of war. This reminds me very much of a video game I played a long time ago called Red Storm Rising. It's based off of, I think, a Tom Clancy book. But you were basically a nuclear sub. I guess you could be a diesel sub in that game too. But anyways, the point is you would go on missions, and then the outcome of your mission would affect the NATO World War III thing going on against the Russian forces. And so it was really interesting how your actions in the game would then have consequences throughout the rest of the theater. And this game does that so well. You destroy factories to reduce the output. If you don't do that, then a whole bunch of these appear. Of course, you can destroy a whole bunch of these by going after the airfields themselves, but then you're not destroying the factories. So very interesting game. And then, of course, the different theaters and their bonuses too. So thanks for watching. Stay awesome. I'll be back in a few minutes, and we're going to get ready for September.